On Monday, Barry Trotz surprised everyone when he shared that Brady Skjei was the player at the top of his shopping list. We're going to tell you the interesting reason why, and we're going to tell you how we see him impacting Nashville's blue line.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everydayers who tune in each and every weekday to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend just a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, I have a partner in crime.
Yes, you do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I am the Nashville Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
On yesterday's show, we talked about Steven Stamkos, and of course, we're probably going to talk more about him and how he's going to fit in with the Nashville Predators going forward. But today, we want to focus on the big defensive move with the signing of Brady Skjei. Plus, development camp kicks off this week. We're going to tell you our favorite moment from day one, and Preds schedule's out, friends. We're going to talk about the games we are most looking forward to this season. But before we dive into all that, I want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sportsin' like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So again, we're still in a mental and emotional whirlwind with this free agency. Barry Trotz rocking every Nashville Predators fans world on Monday with some big signings. We did talk on yesterday's show about Steven Stamkos, but today we want to talk about Brady Skjei, which is a huge signing for the Nashville Predators that might have been a little bit overshadowed by Stamkos, but I think that this is a player who is going to have a huge impact on the Nashville Predators coming up this next season, Emma.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like you said, obviously it gets overshadowed by guys like Stamkos and Marchessault, but I think what's important to look at here is that Barry Trotz said on Monday that, when he was asked about how do you prioritize, when you're going out and signing these free agents, like what was your to-do list basically? Was it getting scoring? Because again, the assumption you go and get a guy like Stamkos. He said, no, actually the number one priority was to fix the blue line, I think is how he said it. We're going to fix the blue line because obviously you lose Ryan McDonagh in that trade back to Tampa. That leaves a big hole there. At the time, it wasn't clear whether Alex Carrier would be coming back.
Right.
He ended up obviously signing an extension as well, so he will be returning. But I think that comment to where he said, that's my number one priority is fixing the blue line, that really shows you how high he was on Brady Skjei and how much of an impact he thinks that he can have on this team. As especially a two-way defenseman, he brings that size that they've been needing on the back end.
Absolutely.
And to put him with a guy like, if you look at their blue line now, they've got a Norris Trophy winner in Roman Josi. They've got a Stanley Cup champion in Luke Schenn. They've got a physical beast of a human being in Jeremy Lauzon. They've got, up and coming talent in Spencer Stastny. It's like they just needed, they have a lot going for them, and they just needed that piece to kind of bring it all together. And it seems that Barry Trotz is very confident that Brady Skjei can be this piece.
Yeah, and I agree with you. In that moment at the press conference on Monday, I was really surprised by how transparent Barry Trotz was about how important this signing was and laying out the reasons for it. I actually am going to play that clip so y'all can hear from Trotz himself.
The priority for me, number one, was to fix the back end. It started with Ryan McDonagh being a part of the trade to Tampa going back. That's a big hole. A, he's a good defender, and B, he's a leadership guy. I needed to fix the back end because I told our players I was going to do that. I said it's my job to fix that hole that I created by having Ryan go back to Tampa Bay, which we mutually sort of agreed do a player solid, and I told the players, I'm going to fix that. I did a solid for a player. I need to fix it for you guys.
I have to tell you, the more Barry Trotz does and says, the more I really love that he is the general manager of this team. And I'm not saying that just because he just signed, so many great players in free agency, but I love his attitude about how important and why it was so important to him to bring in a high caliber defenseman like Brady Skjei, because they lost Ryan McDonagh, and Ryan McDonagh, Stanley Cup winner, talk about that serial winner kind of guy, obviously outstanding defenseman, but he did that move for more off-ice reasons. The Nashville Predators wouldn't have traded Ryan McDonagh had it not been Ryan McDonagh's request. And I love that Barry Trotz said, you know what, I did that for Ryan McDonagh. Now it is my priority to go out and get a high-quality defenseman to make up for that for this team. And I think, a lot of respect for Trotz, first of all, for being so considerate of a player's off ice wishes. I think that's tremendous, even though that's a huge loss for Nashville. But to say, you know what, if we're going to give up Ryan McDonagh, we are going to bring in a Brady Skjei. And it's huge for the Nashville Predators. So Brady Skjei's contract, Emma, 7 years, $7 million AAV, 30 years old. How are you feeling about just the straight numbers of this contract?
I'm okay with it. I think he spent the last 5 or parts of the last 5 seasons in Carolina. He and I did overlap briefly in Carolina, because I'm sure people are wondering. But I think that he is, yes, he's 30 years old. He's a guy, though, that in the last 3 seasons has hovered right around that 40-point mark, either just below it or just above it. And that is when I'm like, okay, that's the consistency I like to see, from year to year. And so I think I'm not that concerned about the term. I don't think. I think it's a good it's a good term, and he's the kind of guy, like the caliber of free agent, that he was going to be seeking that kind of term anywhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I think that he checks all the boxes for you. Another thing that Barry Trotz has mentioned kind of in passing, but I feel like he mentioned it specifically on Monday. A big kind of underlying factor for a lot of these signings was fixing the special teams, because the
Huge.
special teams really needed some help. And so you go and get, obviously, Steven Stamkos is one of the top power players in the NHL. But then you get a guy like Brady Skjei, who can also play very effectively on the power play. So if you got Steven Stamkos on your top unit and Brady Skjei on your second unit, like that scares me. That scares me if I'm another team's penalty kill. So I think, and it also talked about how, or Barry talked about how these kinds of things allow, these kinds of moves allow the power players and penalty killers to have very defined roles. And that way you're not overextending a guy like Ryan O'Reilly or
Right.
Colton Sissons, or, they can kind of have their own defined roles. And I know that I've now gone off on a tangent talking about special teams when the question was about numbers, but that's my long-winded way of saying I think that this shows that Barry Trotz recognized that the special teams were an issue, and that he was going, and again, keeping a promise to his players, to the fans, to whoever. He's like, this is a problem. I recognize it. I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to dedicate resources to fixing it. And by resources, specifically $49 million in Brady Skjei.
Yeah. The other thing I love about this signing is how clutch Brady Skjei is in any situation. And he is one of those players where you want him on the ice for those close games. You want him defensively out there on the ice against the high quality offensive players of your opponent's team. And one of the things I was looking at just as I was kind of browsing through his stats, he had 13 goals last season. 9 of those 13 goals, Emma, were scored when the game was tied, the game was close at 5-on-5, or the team was shorthanded. This is a guy you want out there when it's going to be it's a close game where anything could happen. He's a clutch player that you want out on the ice in those situations, defensively, but also offensively.
Come on. How many times could the Predators have used him this last season? How many leads did they blow?
Come on. Can we talk about game 4 in Vancouver, or shall we just not bring that up?
I think we shan't, but I think you don't even have to go into the playoffs, even in the regular season. Oh my gosh, that team could not hold on to a lead. And that's when you need a Brady Skjei, to kind of blow that wide open. And like I said, like you said, fantastic two-way defenseman. He's 6'3", 206 or two something,
right around 2 something. Yep.
Okay. I mean, there's your size that you want. So he can be physical, and he's going to be hard to move off of pucks, and he can, be a good, provides really good protection for UC Saros in front of the net. He can block a lot of shots. I think I really like this signing. I think, like you said, it gets overshadowed by the other big names, but I'm excited about it. And I think that he will continue to be very effective for this team.
Yeah. I love this signing as well. And I think Nashville Predators fans are going to be surprised at how much of a difference Brady Skjei is going to make for this team immediately. He's going to have an immediate impact. It's going to be really exciting to watch how that all sifts out in training camp, how, the pairings are going to sift out. But I'm telling you, Brady Skjei, this is going to be another one of those players who changes the outcomes of this season for the Predators. Coming up, we're going to talk about some future potential Predators. Emma and I spent some time yesterday at development camp. Y'all, we have got to tell you about Igor. We're going to do that in just a moment. First, want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much that I never, ever want the seasons to end. But friends, the playoffs have wrapped up and we have fewer sports going on right now. And those sports are not sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Emma, we had quite a fun afternoon yesterday. The Nashville Predators kicked off development camp. The players spent some time yesterday afternoon on ice doing some drills, getting some practice in, and we got a chance to talk to some of the prospects, including some of the newest additions to the franchise. Development camp, I just have to be honest, development camp is one of my very favorite camps. A, you get to meet the prospects, but B, we don't get to see them play as much in between summer to summer. And so it's exciting to see the growth in these players. First of all, y'all, Matthew Wood has gotten even larger. I just want to say Matthew Wood has definitely gotten larger. So it was great. We checked in with him and talked with him. He's going to be playing at University of Minnesota. He's moving from UConn. So excited to hear from him about that. But Emma, let's just talk about who was a little bit the star of the media and development camp day one. Just how do you summarize the experience that is Igor Surin?
He is very much an experience. He like, oh my gosh, he's delightful and,
Yes.
so impressive to me as a 17-year-old kid. I was, we mentioned I was at the draft in Vegas, and so I got to speak to him very briefly there. For being 17 years old, obviously English is not his first language. He still is struggling with English, but the fact that he wanted to answer every question in English, and he truly wanted to. He had one of the Predators Russian scouts translating questions for him, but he answered every question himself in English. And I thought, when we were going to see him at dev camp, I'm like, all right, well, how's this going to go? Because he doesn't have a translator now. He came in just grinning ear to ear. He was so happy to be there, so happy to see everyone. He brought his phone with him and told us that, like, hey, okay, I might use a translator app, and we're all like, that's fine. The fact that he had the confidence and, to actually ask us, the media, and say, please speak very slowly,
Yes.
so that he could understand. And of course we were all happy to do that. He, and he did very well. I think, if you're comparing him to like where Yaroslav Askarov was at that point in his career, his English is much farther along, I think, than Askarov's was. But again, a lot of it is just confidence with these kids who don't speak English as a first language, and understandably so. They're scared to get up there and speak in their second language in front of a bunch of cameras and microphones,
and a lot of them are scared to do it in their native language. It's just
true.
It's intimidating. There's, cameras, there's people with microphones in their face, the hot lights are on them, and people are asking questions on their first day working out in front of the staff of the NHL team that just drafted them. It's intimidating.
It is. And he was just so pure. I feel like his energy, it was like a little boy's energy. Like he was just he got in front of the cameras and he looked up and kind of went ho ho ho. Like he was just so excited about it. And then talking about, like I said, asking us to speak slowly so he could understand, and he was able to answer all of the questions.
He did a fabulous job.
He did. And, he was even cracking jokes, which, as someone who is bilingual, can I just say it is extremely hard to be funny in another language, especially when you're like me and your sense of humor is very sarcastic. Like it's very hard to be funny in another language.
It's hard for hockey players to be funny sometimes in their native language.
Yes. And so, but he was great. Like I think at one point someone asked him about, who are his favorite NHL players to watch play. And he mentioned Nathan MacKinnon. But he just said, oh, I like MacKinnon. And then referring to, the Predators obviously have a prospect they drafted last year, Dylan MacKinnon, no relation. But he was like, yeah, I like watching MacKinnon, and oh, there he is right now. And he's just like cracking jokes, and it was great. And then, he just seemed so genuine and so pure. Someone asked him, like, what are your best skills? Like, what do you bring? And he goes, me? And he's like, I don't know. It was kind of like, I'm waiting for the coaches to tell me.
Tell me.
And then
tell me.
And then, of course, he doubled down on his fantastic one-liner from the draft that I tweeted out when he said, I like make big hit. And we actually got confirmation of that after he said it to us. We ran into Mark Borowiecki, who obviously is a development coach with the organization, and ran into him, and he came up to us and said, what do you think of my guy, Igor? I said, oh, he's fantastic. And he goes, yeah, this kid, he comes up to me. after the first, mind you, this is their first practice, first on ice session. A lot of these kids have not skated in months at this point.
Right.
So like we're just kind of feeling it out right now. He's like, first dev camp practice in July. He goes up to Boro and says, I want to hit. When can I hit? He's like, I want to hit people. And this is just so funny because, I mean, granted, Boro's the right guy to ask. But
I was going to say, like, he's the guy who would give permission if it could be given.
But he's like, yeah, let's maybe wait a little bit, like first day. It's July. Like, let's just chill. But we're all thinking like, oh, he is going to hurt someone in this scrimmage on Saturday.
I know. It is going to be so fun to see him play. But it's that moment of like, okay, remember, these are your people. Like, but he just, when can I hit?
Yeah.
When can I hit? It's like, dude, it's death camp.
But it's just
day one of death camp.
You can just tell it's just he's like a little boy that wants to go play. And he's like, I want to play, let me play. And like to him, that's how he plays. He's big and he's physical. And I mean, it was great to see, and even how he was, you wonder too, like with the language barrier, is that going to be hard for him with the other players, the other prospects, and just to see, even just watching him talking and laughing with the other prospects there. I mean, he is just fitting in, adjusting seamlessly, and I just find that so impressive.
He is somebody who this fan base will adore. He is just naturally charismatic. He loves hockey. He enjoys hockey, and it's contagious. His energy today was contagious. I got to talk to one of my favorite prospects today. This will for a moment become the Locked On Aiden Fink podcast, because I got a chance to chat with Aiden Fink, who was drafted last year in the 7th round. He was David Poyle's final pick as a general manager, and he plays at Penn State. Y'all know I'm from Pennsylvania, so I'm a big Penn State girl. And got to talk to him. He led the Penn State team this season in points and goals. Got to talk to him
as a freshman
on a line with 2 other freshmen. This freshman line was incredible in Penn State. So I got a chance to talk to him about that season, adjusting to college. It was great to talk with him. He's originally from Calgary, and he was saying how much he loves Pennsylvania. And I got to ask him, I said, do your parents get a chance to come see you play? And he's like, it's like 2 different plane trips, 2 different plane rides to get from from Calgary to Pennsylvania. So they don't, but he said they came to like 4 or 5 different games and are always checking in and really supportive of him. So going to have a piece coming out at Penalty Box Radio on Aiden Fink, but delighted to talk with him. And you had a conversation with another very interesting player that I think Preds fans need to sort of keep on the radar.
Yeah, got to talk with Andrew Gibson. Obviously, came over in the trade from right before free agency with the trade that sent Jesse Kiskinen and the draft pick over to Detroit to get Gibson back here. And I think he was a guy who, obviously it came out after the fact that Barry Trotz and the Predators, they had tried to get him last year when they tried to draft him last year, and Detroit got to him first, and they have been high on this guy ever since then. And so I asked him about that. I'm like, did you know that, how does it feel to be, wanted like that? And he was like, truly, you could tell, very humbled by it. He said, I mean, yeah, I saw what they gave up just to get me. Like it seemed like very, very pure. He said it was a little surprising. You're not expected to get traded that early in your career. It kind of was a little bit of shock for him at first. And but he was very excited to get here to Nashville and, participate in development camp. And he actually talked about how, he hadn't been to Nashville since he was drafted here last year.
Oh, that's true.
And so, but he was talking about, he's excited to be part of the organization because his favorite hockey player growing up was Ryan Ellis, former Predator Ryan Ellis.
Come on.
And that is actually why Andrew Gibson wears number 6 to this day. And he was very excited to tell us that. Like he was, again, it's that little boy energy. He was just so excited. And, obviously with him being a defenseman, this organization does an exceptional job of developing defensemen. Just ask a guy named Roman Josi. Roman Josi, Matthias Ekholm, Ryan Ellis, like Shea Weber, all these, fantastic defensemen that have been developed and come out of this organization. And he was just, you could tell, very humbled to even be associated, with those names in the same organization. And I was very impressed with him, like extremely well spoken. Very, we did ask him if he could grow the Ryan Ellis beard. And he said probably not. It's a little patchy right now, but he does have a solid mustache going.
He does.
And he did say, I'll keep the Forsberg mustache. And I was like, hold on, buddy. I don't know if we're quite at Forsberg level yet, but
yeah.
I mean, it's a solid stash. I'll give him that.
It's good to have a goal, in hockey and in facial hair. It's good to have a goal.
Or you could be like Yaroslav Askarov last summer, who said that his mustache was better than Phillips.
Yes.
He does not lack confidence. So.
He does not. Maybe he lacks a mirror, but he does not lack confidence. And we love him for that as well.
Yes.
But Dev Camp going on all this week. It's really a great opportunity to see these young prospects and to get to know a little bit more about these players in the system. Emma and I will, of course, bring you some more tales from Dev Camp as the week goes on. We'll be down there talking with the players as well. Coming up, more news broke yesterday, and we want to talk about it. The Nashville Predators released the 2024-2025 schedule, and there are some games that we really think you need to be paying attention to. Before we dive into that, do want to let you know about a new Locked On Predators Insider program that Emma and I are kicking off via subtext. If you are as excited about this upcoming season, these prospects, and if you want to talk more Nashville Predators hockey beyond the podcast, we want you to join our Insider program. You're going to get some bonus content, friends. You may see a blooper reel. You may not be able to unsee a blooper reel. We're going to reach out with immediate breaking news and reaction to that. We're going to give you some in-game analysis during the season. And as always, a chance to chat one-on-one with Emma and I about all things Nashville Predators. So you can check out our program details by clicking on the link in our bio or check so close. Do it again. I'm going to finish. Just going to finish it. You can check out the program details by clicking on the link in our bio or the link in the description. All right, Emma, big news. You thought the news just couldn't get bigger, but here we are looking at an actual schedule. Nashville Predators released the season schedule. They kick off. Why do we kick off the season like this? At home against the Dallas Stars. Why we got to do that?
Right into the fire. I like it. We're not easing into it.
No, we are just diving right in.
Well, I think you have to wonder if whoever is making the schedule is like, hey, remember that 9-2 game? Let's do that again.
We should try to recreate it
early. Yeah, like let's just shove that down their throats in Nashville. So that's what we're going to see October 10th.
It's going to be so exciting. And I was talking with a couple of our listeners today at Dev Camp. Shout out to Jen and Hannah. But we were chatting about the season coming up, and we were saying it is going to be a moment in that first game against Dallas where you see those jerseys that say Stamkos, Marchessault, Skjei skating out onto the ice at Bridgestone Arena. It is going to be a whole moment on that home opener. It's going to be exciting.
I'm still struggling with Stamkos. I don't mean struggling in a bad way. It's just like it would be like to me seeing Ovechkin on a Predators jersey.
Right.
It's like, no, he is one team. He's only Washington. That's it. That's how I saw Stamkos. And so I'm still getting used to it, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. It's a pleasant shock to the system.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. Are there any other games that really jump out at you when you look at the schedule, Emma?
Well, not, I mean, there's a pair of games I think that's definitely, again, talk about not easing into anything. The Predators are hosting the Edmonton Oilers twice, exactly 2 weeks apart in October, like at the beginning of the season. Again, we are not messing around here. Of course, we get to see our favorite Matthias Ekholm. Yes, but I think that it's gonna be a challenge. Considering what they just did, I would say almost
Right.
did, but I mean what they did is still an accomplishment, and that's a team that's given the Predators fits before. So
Yeah, I think the October schedule is going to be a test of how quickly Nashville can get back to the style of play that brought them success through that point streak with, kind of bringing in these new players and getting them used to the system. This is going to be a really important training camp because, like you said, there's not a lot of time to adjust on the fly once the schedule kicks off in October. October 28th at Tampa Bay, Steven Stamkos returns to the Lightning. Y'all, I don't know that I'll be able to watch that pregame.
listen, I was at the game in Tampa, the McDonough game.
Oh.
With what they did for him, the man got a key to the city and he got a whole day named after him. Like, it was officially Ryan Patrick McDonough Day.
Heavens,
And
yes.
like Steven Stamkos, what are they going to do? They're going to rename it like the Stamkos Bay. Like, I don't know. Like, how I don't
Maybe he'll get a statue out front.
Maybe. And like, I don't know, like, what more can you do? Because I mean, this is no disrespect to Ryan McDonough, but it's more just the length of time that Stamkos has been with that organization. He was drafted by them. He's only ever played for them, captained them to 2 Stanley Cups. I'm like, if they did all of that for Ryan McDonough, what are they going to do for Steven Stamkos? Like, are they going to
Incredible.
Is it going to be like a Coach K at Duke, like when they renamed the court? Like, are they going to name it the Steven Stamkos Ice or something?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's just so bizarre. I don't know how that's going to go, but I am looking. Talking about other games that I'm looking forward to. We talked about Dallas as the home opener. November, they play Colorado twice and they play Winnipeg and Minnesota. So you're getting into your divisional rivals here. I am very intrigued to see how this team now, because obviously with the additions of Stamkos, Marchessault, Skjei, we saw how the Predators Stanley Cup odds just skyrocketed.
That's
I mean,
right.
mind you, they're still not like
They're still not
fantastic.
top of the list.
No,
They got
but
way better.
they got way better. And so, but then, in response to that, a lot of people saying, well, they're not even the best team in their division, and so this is where I think the true test will be to see how this team matches up against the Colorados, the Dallases.
Right.
Maybe throw the Winnipegs in there too. I think I think those will be the ones that are very, very telling of how much has this roster and has this team actually improved? How much closer are they to being contenders?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge question. And again, like you talked about, that happens in November. Like, this team is going to have to start rolling right away. And timing is everything. You want to get a really good start with those October games, November divisional games as well. Nashville also ends the season with Dallas, and you want to be peaking at the right time at the end of the season too. So a lot of great, exciting things coming for the Nashville Predators, but they've got a lot to put together in training camp, and over the course of the summer unofficially, to try to be ready to jumpstart this team, the minute the regular season opens. So it's a lot to watch. Of course, we're going to be covering it all off season with you. We're going to be talking lots more about how we see Steven Stamkos and Marchessault fitting in. On tomorrow's show, we are going to hear from Jonathan Marchessault. We're going to share with you some of the media availability, talk about where that move changes things for the Nashville Predators as well. And of course, we'll bring you another update from the delightful fellows at Dev Camp as well. Before we sign off, Emma, let everyone know, where can they find you and where can they find your work?
They can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, Twitter and Instagram, same handle, both places. And you can find my work online at the Hockey News.
And you can find me online at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work at Penalty Box Radio as well. That's going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We hope you all have a fabulous day. We'll be back tomorrow with an all new episode. We'll see you then.